This is one of the most famous and most sold Mercedes models of all time. The Mercedes 190 founded the Mercedes C-Class segment at Mercedes. The first time such a small Mercedes was out there. It was sold between 82 and 93 and was called Baby-Benz because it was so small actually. But in the front it looks really strong and angular, and actually created this new design language, a down-to-earth design language, so to say, less playful, but rather, very consistent and clean German angular design. Look at that, the classic front grille, and also then at that time with a standing Mercedes star. And with a length of 4,42 m or 174 inches, it has a length of today's Mercedes A-Class. So today we would consider this one here as a compact sedan. At that time it was a mid-size sedan. Wheels in tiny 15-inch, nowadays it would look out of place with the vehicles, but at that time it really fitted to the design, a rather closed design style here you can see. The green one you see back there, this is the 202, the successor of this model that was officially called C-Class. This one here, as I said, not officially called C-Class yet, but definitely considered as the first Mercedes C-Class, on an ideal basis. The code here, W201. And I really love the ripped tail lamps right here. We also know it from the very first Mercedes S-Class, the 116, has this really special style for that, that period of time. It was great, by the way, that dust cannot be, glued onto that one that easily, but then, loose dirt can be stuck in between easier. So it's kind of trade-off. But once again, this angular design is just such a classic indeed. Oh, what do you think? You like this one, or rather the newer ones that are a little bit more round in design? And the Baby-Benz also introduced the one-arm wiper, covering 86% of the whole front windscreen, one of the interesting technology details at that time. You gotta love how the hood comes up with the whole grille. Yeah, that's really awesome. And then this one here is a 2.3-liter four-cylinder petrol engine, inline four-cylinder with 136 horsepower. Of all 4-cylinders and 6-cylinder petrol engines available, and 4- and 5-cylinder diesels. Just to show you, this is the key of the all-new Mercedes C-Class, and this is then the all-old Mercedes C-Class. Yeah, I always want to say that. What a difference. Yeah, it's a problem because here the rubber, it breaks off easily then, and then the metal is kind of loose, so you have to pay attention to that. And now, most favorite part of the review, the sounds here of the handles. And the door closing sound. Oh my God. This is just awesome, and it just takes you back to a different time, doesn't it? This very model here, by the way, from 92, so one of the later models, one of the last model years. And you can see also has airbag. This is of course pretty cool. It was standard from the generation after that, but here the later models also had that. And then the seats were also available in fabric. This one here is a special edition actually, with some coloring on the seats. And as simple as that, of course, all analog instruments. Seating positions, actually, yeah, simple, easy. You see a lot because the roundabout visibility is awesome, really. So that's about these older cars, just better visibility. Steering wheel is really large, so it does block my legs here a little bit. But the question is, why did they go for this vehicle in the first place? Because BMW was so successful with the 3 Series, so Mercedes also wanted to create a smaller model and also repeat that success. It worked. 1.8 million pieces sold in this very generation here. Yay! And manual climate dials. Gotta love that. So yeah, sometimes I wish these would just come back, don't you? Of course, you had manual gearboxes, but here also automatic gearbox, and then this typical stair design. And once again, the cockpit overview. I would like to know from you guys, how do you like these classic Mercedes interiors here from the 80s or 90s? And also in comparison to the all-new ones, which do you find better? And when I sit in the front, I can barely sit in the rear, but it does somehow work. So yeah, not maybe most comfortable, but for 4 tall adults, it's more or less okay. Well, my parents had a W123, so I remember, also the trunk pressing here, the mechanism. And this is just so simple, and it gives you a very special kind of feedback. And again, when I press this, I'm 20 years younger. Amazing. And how spacious these trunks were of the sedans. You have to, load things in quite, over this high sill, but then all the space here around the wheel arch, everything is used. And now welcome to the driving part of the all-old Mercedes C-Class. Baby-Benz driving, and I mean, what a cool atmosphere here. It's just such a different feeling, and the first thing that comes to your mind is the great visibility. You see, this windscreen is so upright actually, and when you look behind you, you don't even need a rear view camera because you can see everything so easily, and this is sometimes indeed missing, I think, with the modern vehicles. This 2.3-liter four-cylinder here with 136 horsepower, I mean, it does the job definitely. It's not super special. When it's cold, it also has a tendency to shut down, so you have to give it a little bit more throttle when it's cold, but as soon as it's on temperature, then it's actually fine. And the steering is not too hard actually, so Mercedes very early actually were at the point where they had these power steerings and made it just easy for people to steer these vehicles. And it's not too bad actually. So some of the older vehicles, they have really vague steering, but here you actually get a quite good feeling for the vehicle. Suspension, of course, shakes up more than it does nowadays, and also the seat itself. When you're just shaking a little bit right here, then you also feel that you're shaking on the seat. So like the springs in the seats, they are definitely just softer, or the bolstering and so on, everything is softer. And I mean, thinking back then, this car offered so much more comfort than most of the other vehicles on the market. That's also what made it so popular actually. And here at 80 kilometers an hour, the noise insulation, although the windscreen is upright and so on, it's not too bad at all. It's actually a very good noise insulation, so it doesn't feel that unmodern or something. So, and sometimes you might just think, with all the infotainment systems that are coming up and capacitive buttons here and there, this is also some kind of a relief here, You have a steering wheel with an airbag and a horn, and that's it. No buttons here and there, and then you have analog instruments, and that's it. And when you want to change the temperature, you just change it here, and that's it. Also has an AC here, but you might hear it on the microphone. It has a strange own sound. It's also not too powerful, but at least it's there, So especially when it's hot like today, really cool. And I mean, what a great cruiser vehicle, even still nowadays. Enjoying this, with a with a lot of fun. It doesn't have such a sporty character in general. Again, as I said, more soft. But if you compare it, for example, with the bigger Mercedes at that time, like the E-Class, at that point was the W123 or 123. Interesting fact there. This one here, as it initially started, was even more expensive than the model, the model in the segment above that. Yeah, it was new, but that is something that wouldn't happen today, in this kind of way, But definitely a fun fact, and it actually bound so much engineering capacity, the development here of the Baby-Benz. It was so important for Mercedes that this is also one of the reasons why the Mercedes SL R107 was almost built 20 years, and then they delayed the next generation, the R129 or 129, for kind of one life cycle later. So very interesting history facts here together with that one. And now let's push this four-cylinder. Yay! That was 40 to 60 now. Yeah, it takes needs some time to get going, but actually, why not? You don't need so much horsepower in this vehicle. I think the engine here is actually quite right-sized, and I really wonder how easy this car is to steer. And probably said earlier, the one thing that is most surprising is that you have a very good feeling in the steering wheel. That is the thing that I enjoy most when driving. So I've driven a lot of different vintage vehicles, and this one, of course, a rather new one, maybe in a situation where we say it is more a young timer. But something that that kind of annoys me is that sometimes the steerings are so extremely vague that it also takes away some of the driving fun. Of course, you do concentrate on that. Why is the A-Class not? Okay. Yeah, that's funny. I mean, this was it A-Class or B-Class? Yay! You see? I do get excited also when racing this one now, hard on the brakes. I hope the vintage or the classic cars guys from Mercedes won't hate me for that, but yeah, I mean, this engine can take it, it's no problem, it's also very well maintained. And this car really is a lot of fun, and it's also a difference when you drive like an old S-Class and an old E-Class. Then you have this, just the driving luxury and the calmness and the comfort. And here, due to the compact size, just remember, this has the same size as nowadays compact cars. And this small size makes it kinda agile and really a lot of fun. And the same way also I enjoyed driving the BMW E30, which is also a fantastic vehicle indeed. So, and once again, looking at the star there in front of the hood, remember that, the standing star, that was the symbol of luxury, of premiumness, of, in a way, of richness, or wealth even. And then you could buy a Mercedes at a way lower price later on, of course. It started more expensive at the W123, but then later on, if we also compare like the average wage and so on, this was such a step forward to make a Mercedes available at this price point here. Just amazing, and what that changed for the whole Mercedes brand and people who didn't need so big vehicles. And then you're driving a more or less small or compact vehicle, which is also nice in the driving here. You look at the front, you have the upright standing Mercedes star. This gives indeed a special feeling, and although the new modern front grills, they just look sportier, it gives you something. It is a brand, definitely, but it still gives you something special when you just look in the front hood and you see this Mercedes star, definitely. And let me just see here about the turning circle. It's great. It's not a big turning circle. It's also not too, too hard to turn it around. So this was also one of the most important things about this one here. It's easy to ease it around in the city. And that's making it also, the popular model at that very time. So enjoyable to ride this one. And in some different elements, you think about, this is, this is where new cars are really way better. And other things we have to think about, maybe let's take a step back and think about what new cars are maybe doing wrong. And let's then rethink and refocus things. So sometimes maybe the truth is in between. So if you could take one of these two vehicles home right now, the all-old Mercedes C-Class or the all-new Mercedes C-Class, which one would you actually go for? Looking forward to your comments. Also tune in to our review of the very first Mercedes S-Class. This was also a blast. And of course, we have videos of the all-new Mercedes C-Class you're surely interested in.